One of the most popular personas we get asked about targeting within HR is diversity and inclusion. So there's been a handful of things happening in the diversity space. Number one, organizations are just doing a better job building out those departments. It used to be, someone's responsibility, but nobody was actually the head of diversity and inclusion, or they didn't have very big departments. That is absolutely changing now. And then the second is those groups are, they kind of go together, but those groups are getting a lot of budget, and, they're also starting to be a part of the purchasing in a lot of different areas within HR. So just to give you an example, diversity and inclusion can be the lead on so many different things. It can be the lead on recruiting tools. We've seen diversity and inclusion, obviously be the purchaser of training, leadership development. And so pretty much every vendor that we talk to has some kind of interest in diversity and inclusion and prospecting these individuals and what it looks like. So from our experience, there's two different real kind of core groups within diversity and inclusion. You have your head of diversity and inclusion, but then there's a subset that is focused on recruiting. So they sit more in the talent acquisition team. They have different types of responsibilities, but it's mostly related to recruiting processes, where they're recruiting candidates from, and some of the things they're trying to accomplish on that end. And then the other kind of falls to a little more broadly, things like coaching and leadership development and the internal talent and kind of how that is being managed and what that looks like. And so from a list building perspective, it's important to start and understand which ones are sitting in recruiting and which individuals are sitting on the talent development side, and then who's obviously the leader over the top of it. One of the really great things about prospecting diversity and inclusion is they're very open to new ideas, and a lot of this is in a pretty immature state, meaning how they're using assessments, what they're doing for training, their recruiting, kind of everything. These are all fairly new things that the teams are working through. And so that means that they're open to talking with new vendors. They're open to understanding kind of your specialty, how you focus, how you can affect what some of their longer term goals are. And they're really open to custom solutions. So this is a pretty complicated topic, from how you're hiring the right people and how you're, helping your internal talent from a diversity and inclusion perspective. And so there's no out of the box tool that you just bring in and it solves your problem. It's usually a combination of a lot of different things and some pretty in-depth process changes, training, all different types of things. So, that's good for a couple reasons. Number one, it means, your diversity and inclusion leaders are kind of open to conversations about what is working and what isn't, and the experience that you've had, and it allows you to customize. And it's not a commodity purchase like a background check or something like that. This is something that takes some time, and there's a lot involved. And so they're really open to conversations. The downside of that is because not everybody's doing the same thing, and there's no one way to do it. It means that the process for purchasing can take a really long time. So you'll get a lot of meetings set up when you're running campaigns into diversity and inclusion, but how many of those actually turn into pipeline, and what is the likelihood, that person in diversity and in inclusion can kind of sign up for this whole thing by themselves? Typically, they're getting involved. They have an idea, they'll bring a new solution, and then they need to get other leaders involved from talent management or recruiting or others. So it just turns into really long sales cycles. But overall, it's a group that's pretty easy to get to on the phone. They pick up the phone a little above 4% of the time. So from a dial to connect perspective, as long as you're using dialers and those types of things, and you have great data, you're able to get to them over the phone. They're as easy as a group as any on email and LinkedIn. You just have to be careful. There are a lot of people reaching out to them. So being really specific about what you're solving, and I'd make sure in any of your campaigns you're really bucketing like, we're solving X, Y, or Z. If this is your solution, that's a quick thing like a check the box, versus we're a larger solution that can solve a lot of different things. I would really call that out and really use examples and client stories. I mean, you should always use client stories, but they matter a lot more in diversity and inclusion than they do in, most other niches when you're targeting HR. So hope that helps. It's a big group. It's a growing group. Once you segment your lists and start running your campaigns, you should have a lot of success going after diversity and inclusion. It's a pretty easy group to get meetings on the books with. A little bit tougher to get those deals to go to close, but they're definitely a group that's open to new ideas. And so if you have client experiences, those are really, really going to resonate with this group. So hope that helps. If you ever have any questions on any other groups within HR, don't hesitate to reach out to us at talentview.co, and always check out our blog where we detail kind of what we're hearing and what we're learning prospecting into HR. So hope that helps. Thanks.